Hey everyone, so exam season is right around the corner, and I know that the manufacturing industries chapter can feel, well, a little heavy. But hey, don't sweat it, you're in exactly the right place. Here at A1 Institute, we're going to break this whole thing down piece by piece and get you totally exam ready. All right, let's just dive right in. Here's the game plan for today. We'll start with why manufacturing is the absolute backbone of our development. Then we'll get into the mineral-based powerhouses. After that, we'll look at chemicals and construction, then shift gears to the modern movers like the auto industry. And we'll wrap it all up with a quick-fire recap to make sure you're ready to go. Sound good? Let's do it. So, first things first, why should you even care about this stuff? Well, because manufacturing isn't just about factories and smokestacks. It's literally the engine that powers our entire economy. It takes raw materials and turns them into everything we use, creating millions of jobs along the way. It really is the bedrock of our country's economic strength. That brings us to a really important question. If you had to pick just one thing, one single indicator to measure how strong a country's economy is, what would it be? Is it farming? Or maybe the service industry? Well, for a long time, the real answer has been tied to something a lot heavier. And this is the answer. Seriously, this quote? You're going to want to remember this one for the exam. The iron and steel industry is called a heavy industry for a reason. It's because, well, pretty much everything else is built on it. Just think about it. Cars, buildings, bridges, even tiny parts inside your phone probably have steel in them. So the more steel a country makes and uses, the more developed it's considered to be. It's as simple as that. Okay, so now let's get into the real heavy hitters. We're talking about the powerhouse industries that literally take rocks out of the ground and forge them into the foundation of our entire nation. Now, think of making steel like you're baking a cake. You need the right ingredients in just the right amounts. And this slide, it gives us the perfect recipe. You need iron ore, coking coal, and limestone in a very specific ratio, about 4:2:1. And that specific ratio, that's the #1 reason why you'll almost always find steel plants built super close to where you find these raw materials. It just makes sense, right? So how does it all come together? Well, first you got to get all those raw materials to the plant. Then they go into a massive blast furnace where things get really hot. The iron ore melts, limestone is added to pull out all the impurities, and that gunk is removed. What you get is molten pig iron. That then gets purified and mixed with other metals like manganese to create strong steel, which is finally shaped into whatever we need it to be. And where are all these plants? Well, you'll notice that a whole bunch of them, Jamshedpur, Bokaro, Rourkela, are all clustered together in the Chotanagpur Plateau region. And that's no accident, believe me. It's basically the perfect spot. You've got low-cost iron ore, top-quality raw materials, cheap labor, and a ton of room to grow. It's the whole package. All right, moving on from steel to its cool younger sibling, aluminum. I mean, this is really the metal of the modern world. It's super light, it doesn't rust, and it's a great conductor of heat. Plus, when you mix it with other stuff, it gets incredibly strong. That's why it's used in everything from airplanes to the pans you cook with at home. But here's the thing, making aluminium is a pretty intense process. It all starts with a reddish rock called bauxite, and you need a lot of it. We're talking about 4 to 6 tons. Which then gets refined down to about 2 tons of an intermediate powder called alumina. And from all of that, you finally get just 1 single ton of pure aluminum. That's crazy, right? You have to move so much earth just to get a little bit of the final metal. So if you're going to build an aluminum plant, you need 2 main things. First, a steady supply of that bauxite rock. But even more important, you need a massive, and I mean massive, amount of electricity. That's because the smelting process is just an energy hog. It takes a staggering 18,600 kilowatt hours for just 1 ton of ore. So the absolute #1 rule for location, a cheap and reliable power source. Okay, let's move away from metals for a bit and talk about some of the industries that are kind of working behind the scenes. These are the unseen forces, the chemical and construction industries, that provide the essential building blocks for almost everything else. So the chemical industry is split into 2 big categories. On one hand, you have organic chemicals. Think of anything that comes from petroleum, petrochemicals. These are used to make stuff like synthetic fibers for your clothes, all kinds of plastics, dyes, even medicines. Then, on the other hand, you have inorganic chemicals. These go into things like fertilizers, glass, soaps, and paper. And both sides of this industry are absolutely booming in India. Now, speaking of chemicals, 2 huge industries that rely on them are fertilizers and cement.
The fertilizer industry, just remember NPNK, nitrogen, phosphate, and potash, was pretty much the engine that drove the green revolution. And then you've got the cement industry, using those heavy raw materials like limestone and gypsum. This is the industry that literally builds our country, from our houses and factories to the biggest bridges and dams. Okay, time to accelerate into the new age of Indian manufacturing. These are the modern movers, the industries that really define India's global presence in technology and transport today. You know, the automobile industry totally changed the game for getting around in India. Back in the 90s, when economic liberalization happened, it was like a switch flipped. All of a sudden, there was this huge demand for cars, motorcycles, and scooters, and the industry just exploded. Today, the major hubs for all this action are clustered around cities like Delhi, Gurugram, Mumbai, Pune, and Chennai. And look, you just can't talk about modern Indian industry without talking about IT and electronics. I mean, we're talking about everything from your TV to the phone in your pocket. And the heart of it all? You guessed it, Bangalore. It's known as the electronic capital of India for a reason, though you also have other huge centers like Mumbai, Delhi, and Hyderabad. All right, deep breath. I know that was a ton of information. But don't worry, we're going to boil it all down to the absolute essentials. This is it. Time to get laser focused for that exam. Here's your rapid fire recap. Okay, remember these 5 points. First up, steel is the index of development. Got it? Good. Number 2, making aluminum takes a crazy amount of electricity. 3, organic chemicals, they come from petrochemicals. 4, remember this one, India has to import most of its potash for fertilizers. And finally, number 5, Bengaluru is the electronic capital of India. Lock those in. See? Understanding these industries isn't just about memorizing facts for an exam. It's about really getting how our country works, how it's built, and where we're all headed. And that's what we're all about at A1 Institute, helping you master this knowledge so you can power your own future. So if you're ready to take your learning to the next level with expert notes, one-on-one guidance, and a clear plan for your future, then you need to get in touch. Contact us at A1 Institute. We are absolutely here to help you succeed on your academic journey. And hey, one last thing. If this explainer helped you out, could you do us a huge favor? Hit that like button, share it with any friends who are also cramming for exams, and most importantly, smash that subscribe button for the A1 Institute YouTube channel. We've got way more of this coming. Our phone number and all the details you need are right down there in the description. Thanks for tuning in, and go crush those exams.